My whole family is fighting over this. I'll try to make this as short as possible. My father passed away last month. He owned a classic car. I believe it's a 1950s Chevy Bel Air. My son, nearly adult, is the only grandson he had. I have one sister who has 2 daughters, and I have 2 daughters along with my son, so there are 5 grandkids in total. My dad was never much of a girls' guy. He always got along with the boys more so than the girls. He and my son were very close. He's left the car to my son in his will. The rest of the grandkids got $4,000 each. The vehicle is valued over $70,000. My sister is livid. I'm unhappy as well. It's just blatantly unfair to his 4 other grandkids. I don't understand the legality of the situation because it was left to him, but he's currently underage. The car's currently held at my mom's house. I don't know how to force him to sell it, but I think that should happen, and the money can be decided equally amongst the grandkids, the way it should be. My son is very upset about this. He says Grandpa left him that car, so it's his car. I have money saved for his college, and I'm almost considering telling him that his college money will be divided up amongst his sisters and cousins if he refuses to sell the car. Am I the idiot for forcing my son to sell the car that he's inheriting? Edit. Yes, my siblings and I got some money too, a little more than the girls got. Most of the assets went to my mom. There were only a few things he passed on to us when he died because he knew the rest of it would be when my mom goes. My husband thinks we should leave everything as is, but maybe speak to my mother about leaving more to the girls than to my son when she passes. That's where most of the money is, since she has my dad's estate. I've been worked up because my sister and her husband are extremely mad and talking my ear off about this. My girls, the oldest set to get married this year, are also very unhappy. It's blatantly unfair to the other grandkids. My daughters asked why Grandpa didn't love them as much as their brother. Lady, you're asking the wrong question here. You need to ask yourself whether you intend to honor your father's last wishes about his property or not. It seems unfair, but forcing him to sell it would damage your relationship with your son. Is it worth doing that? Oh, Pete, you're so concerned with being fair to your daughters and nieces, but you don't seem at all concerned with being fair to your son. How is it fair to rob him of his rightful and legal inheritance? OP plans to loot the young man's college fund if she can't figure out how to force him to sell the car so that she can steal the money. That's despicable, all because she never taught her daughters that money doesn't equal love and her sense of fairness doesn't trump a legal will. OP, you are the idiot. I hope you figure it out before you lose your son over this. Yep, this is disgusting. The grandma can leave a more significant portion of the inheritance to granddaughters. Soon this poor young man will be posting, "Am I the idiot for going no contact on my mother?" who puts the mother in smother because she bullied me into selling what my beloved grandpa gave me and or stole my college funds, and also going low contact on the 4 young ladies who gladly partook in this against me, taking what was mine for themselves. Holy crap, why do you hate your only son so much? OP, you can give his college fund money to his sister's wedding, or whatever, and it'll just be the same as stealing his car. If you do it, you won't be in his life anymore. This is not about money. This is his remembrance of the granddad he loved and was close with. He made an effort to spend time with Grandpa, but the girls did not. So let him keep Grandpa's last gift, or lose your son. This is not about money, and he'll never forgive you. My wife, Angie, 27 female, and I, 29 male, have a son, Sam, toddler. We're part of a friend group of 7 people, including us. There's one more couple in this group. The other 3 are Zoe, 32 female, Greg, 41 male, and Tim, 30 male. Zoe doesn't like kids. She openly avoids them whenever she can. I've always known about this and have no problem with it. There have, however, been occasions in which she took it too far. The friend group lives all over the country now, and most of us only get together once or twice a year. This January, we all decided to take a 5-day trip to Greg's beach house. It's in a different state, and a 2-hour flight away. Both Greg and Tim have children. Greg invited us over while his kid was with his ex, but Tim's a single father and couldn't afford to leave his daughter with a babysitter for 5 days. Due to that, it was decided that Tim's daughter and Sam were welcome on the trip. Angie and I offered to leave Sam with my mother-in-law, but the whole group, including Zoe, said it was fine. All of these decisions were made 2 months in advance. 2 days before the trip, Tim informed us that his daughter had chickenpox and he had to cancel their tickets to stay with her. At that, Zoe called Angie and said, "Guess your mom will have a busy week." My mother-in-law was traveling and wouldn't be back for another week. We had no other babysitting options or time to find one, so we told Zoe we were still bringing Sam. Zoe protested, saying that she was only okay with having kids around during the trip because she knew Tim had no choice, and we had no excuse to bring Sam now that Tim's daughter wasn't coming anymore. But we held our ground. The others took our side. During the trip, Angie and I tried to help Zoe avoid Sam as much as possible. This made our trip underwhelming, as we spent a lot of time apart and didn't get to see our friends as much as we wanted, but it worked. Zoe and Sam were in the same room 4 times, including our arrival and departure from Greg's house. Despite that, she insists that we ruined her trip by bringing him and that it was selfish of us not to consider her feelings about children after Tim dropped out. Zoe has yet to speak to us since we flew back home. This week, she unfollowed Angie on Instagram 10 minutes after she made a post for Sam's 2nd birthday, so I think she's still bitter. Angie's been feeling guilty about this. I reassured her we had no other option, and it was unreasonable of Zoe to ask us to change our plans at the last minute, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't consider we might be in the wrong. Am I the idiot? You know what? Sometimes you just can't change plans at the last minute, like pulling a trusted babysitter out of your butt when you were led to believe 2 days before that you wouldn't even need one at all. Sucks for Zoe that she doesn't like kids. I don't like kids either. But OP, you can't just stick your kid in a room at home with a litter box and an automatic feeding system. You had to bring your kid with you, as was the plan all along. Sucks for Zoe. Not the idiot, OP. What? Did she expect you to predict with your magic ball that you should have your mother-in-law on backup duty just in case Tim's plans fell through? It's so bogus. And as you said, this was all decided months ago. Zoe is strangely entitled to think that she should be able to call the shots in a group like that. If she decided having a kid around wasn't her cup of tea, she should have skipped the trip. She has some really negative and callous feelings toward you, and maybe you're better off moving on from her as a friend. It's funny, Zoe doesn't like kids because it sounds like she's the biggest baby around. My take on this is that Zoe might have been accommodating for Tim and his daughter because Zoe might have a little thing for Tim. And since Tim dropped out, why would she want to put up with your kid cluttering up the beach house? My mother-in-law is 64. My husband and I are both 30, and we have an infant daughter. I've had an issue with this since day one. So she came to see us when my daughter was a few days old, and how she held my baby was ridiculous. Face down with her head sideways, her hands on her head, and no other support. My daughter's legs pointed upward toward mother-in-law's elbow, and swinging her back and forth fast enough to give her the startle reflex repeatedly while screaming. She laughed about it. She thought my daughter being scared was hilarious, apparently. I took my daughter back and told her she was never to hold my daughter like that again. She pulled the "I've had 4 kids, I know what I'm doing" talk and refused to see my point of view. So I didn't let her hold her again until she was a few months old. Same darn thing. As soon as she could hold my daughter again, she started flinging her around in the same position. I immediately take her back and say, "Obviously you haven't learned your lesson. I told you that you weren't to hold my daughter like that. I don't find it funny that she's screaming while you're flinging her around and not supporting her body at all." I told her and my husband she's not holding my daughter again until she stops disrespecting me. My husband was angry. However, he didn't say anything because he gets it and sees why it sketches me out. but is still bothered that his mom is alienated. I told him she would get another opportunity when she learned to respect me. He agrees. Well, she's been coming over often, and I figured I would give it another shot because she's been good, and it's been 2 months since the last incident. She takes the baby, but immediately flings her in the downward position while aggressively getting her neck with no support to her head or anything. Again, my daughter starts screaming and flailing her arms out in a startle reflex. Mother-in-law again starts laughing and saying, "Ooh, such a scared baby. It's because mama doesn't play with you." I took my baby from her arms, told her to leave, and said she would not be holding her ever again. She asked why, and I said it was because she once again was being disrespectful and laughing at my daughter being scared because she refused to stop being so aggressive with her. She turns to my husband and says, "Screw this, I won't be coming around anymore," and leaves. My husband is angry at me right now. He says I'm cutting his mother out over my fear and that the baby's fine, and she raised 4 kids and likely did the same crap to us, and we turned out fine. I refuse to budge on this. I'm not okay with her flinging my baby around. I don't care how many babies she raised. Am I the idiot? Edit. Just so we're clear, my baby's not colicky, and she hardly ever cries. If she does, it's because she's tired, and I can calm her in seconds. When my mother-in-law holds her, however, she screams. Even if she wasn't doing anything wrong, as a mom with a baby who hardly ever cries, hearing my baby scream while this woman does this is not okay at all. Not the idiot. I wouldn't let her within a mile. As for your husband, look how he turned out. You have a husband problem. What kind of sociopath finds it funny to terrorize their grandchild? Exactly. OP should schedule an appointment with the child's pediatrician and make the husband come. Take a doll and demonstrate to the doctor how your husband's mother has handled your child and your baby's reaction. Say, "Doctor, my husband thinks the way his mother terrorizes our child is okay. What do you think?" OP, you gave the old bag 3 chances to respect you in your decisions as a parent, and she blew it all 3 times. Your husband needs to grow a really shiny spine and tell his mom, this is not her kid. She doesn't get to say how the baby's held or fed or anything at all. I wouldn't allow her in your house again. By the way, if her child-rearing methods were so perfect, why is your husband such an idiot? I'm so angry on your behalf. Your husband is not protecting your little family. My boyfriend, 26, and I, 25 female, have been together for just under 3 years now and are expecting our first child in March. We've been very open about marriage, so the engagement itself would never be a surprise, but the proposal was. He's clueless about rings and my taste in jewelry, so we decided to take a collaborative approach and design my ring together. In the process of all that, I made it very clear what kind of proposal I wanted. I told him explicitly that I wanted to get engaged surrounded by all my closest friends and family, and that having them involved in the surprise was very important to me. After the ring was ordered, I was in the dark. I had no idea when it would be ready and no idea when he would propose to me, so I just waited with excited anticipation. 2 nights ago, we took our dogs on an evening walk at the beach near our house, which we frequent regularly. We sat and admired the sunset as our dogs played in the ocean in front of us. After a little while, he started going on about how much he loved me and how grateful he was to have found me, and then he pulled out the ring box and asked me to marry him. It was completely unexpected, and I was a bit shocked. Once I realized what was going on, I kissed him and told him how much he meant to me and how much I loved and cherished him, but I couldn't say yes now because I really wanted my closest friends and family to share this moment with me. He got really upset and told me that he wanted to do something more intimate and keep the moment between us, and that he wasn't comfortable doing it in front of everyone. I tried to reason with him over the past couple of days, but he's been giving me the silent treatment for the most part. I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, I had to design my own ring because he doesn't pay enough attention to the small things like the jewelry I wear. So I really wanted my proposal to be something that he put a lot of thought into to make it special to me. I've heard of countless instances where a girl has turned down her partner's proposal because he did it publicly and she wanted something private. Everyone always seems to sympathize with her and her preferences. The way I see it, this is the exact same situation but reversed. So I don't see what I did was wrong. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot, and you're rude. When did the proposal become something that's scripted? The way you built this up in your mind, you should have just proposed to yourself, since you had an exact scenario with specific people involved scripted. Lady, you shot yourself in the foot here. A proposal is a one-and-done type of situation. He's proposed to you. The ship has sailed. You had your proposal, and you said no. It won't ever be special like it was again, because from here on out, it won't be from the heart. The proposal isn't just about you and your wants. It's also about him. He doesn't want to do a public display. He shouldn't have to, simply because you envisioned a TikTok moment. He wished to protect the moment between you both. Privacy, intimate. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't bother again. You've shown how little you care about his preferences. Exactly. It all reads as she wants, not what he wants. I can't imagine how bad the wedding planning would be. It reeks of main character syndrome. Yes, your friends and family would be happy for you, but I can't imagine caring so much that I'd be included in the proposal. My pregnant wife, 26, and I, 35 male, are struggling at the moment as I lost my job 2 years ago and my wife had to quit her job as she's suffering from hyperemesis gravidarum. We've used up our savings and live off of our credit cards, but I've got a job lined up starting next month. My wife is very close to her sister, 31, and a few days ago, she confided in her that we're struggling. Her sister has never liked me, but has always been polite to me. Despite my attempts to foster a warmer relationship, she's always kept me at arm's length. A few days ago, my sister-in-law came to visit while I was away, and she was appalled at the state of the house and the lack of baby supplies, as the baby room was bare bones and we hadn't bought many baby things. When I arrived home, she lectured me on taking better care of her sister and scolded me for not getting ready for the baby. The next day, she returned, and she bought things for the house and for the baby. My wife also told her that we had to sell my wife's car to pay some bills and rent. Again, my sister-in-law had to show off, and she bought her a car to top it all off. On Sunday, she sent her $5,000 and then texted her this: "This is your money and your baby's. Do not use it on that man. If you need more, tell me, and I'll send more. And remember, wherever I am, there's a home for you." I feel like her sister's trying to make me look like a failure, and I expressed that to my wife. My wife and I argued, and in a fit of anger, my wife said that I only feel like a failure because I've been failing. She's apologized since, but I still stand by telling her to return everything, as I feel like accepting her sister's so-called generosity is a way to manipulate my wife into thinking I'm a bad husband. You are the idiot. What sort of husband are you if you want your wife to be without a safety net for her and your child just because it bruises your ego that you can't support them well enough? Time to put your ego aside and accept help because you need it. The sister's helping her family, not trying to make you look bad. You don't need anyone else to do that for you. You're doing a great job of making yourself look bad without her help. OP has been unemployed for 2 years. His pride didn't mind living off of his wife, who had to leave her job a few months ago due to pregnancy complications. It's taken that long for him to line up a job for himself, finally. OP also latched onto his breadwinner wife when she was only 21, and he has a whole 30 years. It's no wonder his sister-in-law doesn't like him, and why she told his wife the money isn't for him.